It was the height of summer in Australia, 1967. The nation, deeply engaged in the Vietnam War, was led by a charismatic and popular Prime Minister, Harold Holt. He was a man known for his love of the ocean, a seasoned spearfisherman who seemed completely at home in the water. But in a matter of hours, this public figure would become the center of one of Australia's most enduring mysteries, vanishing without a trace from the nation's view. The day was Sunday, the 17th of December. For many, it was a typical pre-Christmas weekend. The location was Cheviot Beach, near Port C on Victoria's Mornington Peninsula. This wasn't a public swimming spot. It was a rugged, isolated stretch of coastline situated within the grounds of the Officer Cadet School at Point Nepean, a restricted military area. Its seclusion meant it was unpatrolled, a place known only to locals and those with access. On this particular day, the ocean was a cauldron of chaotic energy. The surf was dangerously heavy, with a large, messy swell pounding the shore. Powerful rip currents, a notorious feature of this beach, were churning the water, creating unpredictable conditions. Visibility beneath the surface was practically zero. Even without official lifeguards, the natural warnings were abundant. The beach was known locally for its treacherous rock shelves and sudden drop-offs. It was a place that commanded respect, even from the most experienced watermen. After a morning drive from Melbourne, Prime Minister Holt arrived at the coast with 4 companions. The group included his neighbor and a family friend, Marjorie Gillespie, with whom he was rumored to be having an affair. They made their way down the sandy track to the beach. Standing on the shore, they watched the violent surge of the water. One of Holt's companions, Alan Stewart, was so concerned by the conditions that he advised the Prime Minister not to go in. But Holt, perhaps overconfident in his abilities and wanting to cool off, dismissed the warnings. He reportedly said, "I know this beach like the back of my hand." It was a fateful decision. He waded into the turbulent water, swimming out towards the deeper channel near the headland's rock shelf. Almost immediately, he was caught. A powerful surge, described by witnesses as boiling and swirling like a washing machine, dragged him away from the shore with incredible speed. His companions watched in horror. They saw him surface briefly, carried further and further out, before a large wave crashed over him. And then, he was gone. He disappeared completely into the churning sea. On the beach, disbelief turned to panic. His friends scanned the waves, calling his name, but there was no response. The Prime Minister of Australia had vanished beneath the waves. The alarm was raised at approximately 12:25 p.m. The initial response was a frantic effort to get help in this remote location, triggering what would become the largest search and rescue operation in Australian history. Within minutes, personnel from the nearby military base were on the beach, beginning a desperate search from the shoreline, peering into the unforgiving surf. Soon, a massive mobilization was underway. Police, surf lifesavers, helicopters from the Royal Australian Air Force, and eventually, elite Navy clearance divers were all scrambled to the scene. But the ocean that had taken Harold Holt was not about to give him back. The powerful swell and treacherous rips made any attempt at an in-water search incredibly hazardous and almost impossible. As the precious minutes turned into hours, the grim reality began to set in. The search parties found nothing. At Cheviot Beach, there were only the relentless, empty waves rolling ashore. The disappearance of a sitting Prime Minister triggered an unprecedented response. Within hours, what would become one of the largest search and rescue operations in Australian history was underway. A massive, coordinated effort involving Victoria Police, Royal Australian Navy divers, Army personnel from the School of Military Engineering, and Royal Australian Air Force helicopters was mobilized with astonishing speed. It was a multi-agency force assembled against a ticking clock, a testament to the gravity of the situation unfolding at Cheviot Beach. Emergency calls flooded switchboards, lighting up control rooms across the state. At Port C, a makeshift incident command post was hastily established to coordinate the sprawling operation. From local surf life-saving clubs to police marine units, small agile boats were launched directly through the treacherous surf, their crews battling the same powerful waves that had claimed Holt. On land and sea, the initial search began. Police patrol cars and rugged tenders fanned out, meticulously scouring the coastline and the immediate offshore area. They were searching for any sign, a piece of clothing, a personal effect, any clue that might drift ashore or be spotted on the surface of the churning water. The Royal Australian Navy brought in heavy assets. Minesweepers like HMS Curlew and patrol boats began the methodical task of setting up search boxes, precisely defined grid squares to ensure no patch of ocean was missed. On their decks, elite clearance divers, the Frogmen, kitted up. They were preparing to descend into the violent, murky water, their mission to conduct a tactile search of the seabed beneath the rescue lines. From above, RAF Iroquois helicopters flew dangerously low sweeps, their rotors whipping spray from the heavy swell. Inside, winch crews, tethered and leaning out of open doors, scanned the turbulent whitewater, their eyes straining to distinguish human form from foam and shadow in the chaotic seascape. The search went high-tech. Sonar pings from the naval vessels systematically mapped the seabed, creating a digital picture of the underwater terrain. On the bridge, lookouts with powerful binoculars worked grid by grid, their methodical patience a stark contrast to the frantic energy of the waves below. But technology and training met their match in the environment itself. The notorious kelp forests and sharp, rocky reefs of Cheviot Beach turned the water into a lethal maze. The powerful surge, a product of the incoming tide and large swell, created unpredictable currents and snag hazards that threatened the divers with every move. Underwater, visibility was near zero. Silt and sand churned up by the waves created a blinding, disorienting fog. The divers couldn't rely on sight. They advanced by touch alone, their gloved hands following shot lines and ropes laid by the surface crews, feeling their way across the seafloor in a slow, dangerous crawl. The ocean dictated the terms. As tides shifted and the swell continued to build, precious search windows closed fast. The operation became a massive logistical challenge, a race to keep the search assets, the boats, helicopters, and personnel, on station and effective against the relentless power of the sea. A constant supply chain was established. Fuel for the vessels, fresh air bottles for the divers, and standby medical teams were cycled through forward staging points. To combat exhaustion, crews rotated around the clock, ensuring the search could continue without pause through the day and into the night. But despite days of this immense coordinated effort, the ocean offered nothing back. Not a body, not a shred of clothing, not a single personal effect was ever recovered. The sheer scale of the operation was met with a profound and unnerving silence from the sea. With no new leads, search parameters were forced to widen, expanding further out into the Bass Strait. With every new grid added to the map, the mathematical probabilities of finding anything diminished, and a grim reality began to set in. On the shore, the human toll was palpable. Anxious crowds gathered on the headlands, their gazes fixed on the horizon. In homes across the country, families waited beside radios and telephones, desperate for any news, their private vigil becoming a shared national anxiety. The story was now global. Cameras and press packs descended on Port C, turning the small coastal town into the epicenter of world news. Headlines rolled out across Australia and overseas, each one amplifying the shock and disbelief. With the nation's leader missing and presumed dead, the mechanisms of government had to continue. In Canberra, a caretaker Prime Minister, John McEwen, was sworn in. It was a somber, constitutionally necessary act that underscored the finality of the situation as the nation watched on. After 5 exhaustive days, with all logical areas searched and all hope of finding him alive gone, the official operation was scaled back. Night turned to dawn over an empty ocean. The surf resumed its timeless rhythm against the shore, and the intensive search for Harold Holt was finally wound down, leaving behind only questions. It was a summer Sunday just after midday on the 17th of December 1967. At Cheviot Beach, a rugged and isolated stretch of coastline near Port St. Victoria, the sea was a churning cauldron of raw power. This beach, part of a restricted military area, was known to locals for its treacherous conditions, a place where the powerful currents of Bass Strait meet the shore with unforgiving force. Here, Australia's 17th Prime Minister, Harold Holt, a man known for his love of the ocean and spearfishing, made a fateful decision. Despite the visibly rough surf, he told his companions he knew the beach like the back of his hand and went for a swim. Within minutes, he had vanished without a trace, swallowed by the turbulent water. In the decades since, a single, sober explanation has held firm against a tide of speculation. The evidence-based consensus points to a tragic accident, drowning in a powerful rip current, compounded by a surging backwash at an exceptionally hazardous beach. Eyewitnesses, watching from the shore, gave harrowing accounts. They described heaving seas, with a swell estimated at over 3 meters. They saw Holt swimming confidently at first, before the water around him began to boil. He was suddenly pulled into the turmoil, struggling against the immense force before being swept seaward and disappearing behind a large wave. He was never seen again. Contributing health factors likely played a critical role. Holt was 59 and had a recent painful shoulder injury that would have hampered his swimming strength. Friends noted he seemed tired that day, potentially exhausted from the pressures of office. This combination of physical limitation and fatigue, pitted against the ocean's fury, created a fatal mismatch. An immense search operation was launched, one of the largest in Australian history, but no body was ever recovered. The very elements that likely caused the tragedy, heavy surf, dense kelp beds, jagged reefs, and swift, unpredictable currents, severely impeded the divers, boats, and helicopters scouring the area. In the vacuum left by a missing body, myths began to grow. A shark attack? It's a common fear, but highly unlikely. Eyewitnesses reported no blood in the water, no signs of a struggle with marine life, and no physical evidence was ever found to support this theory. The idea of suicide was also raised, but there is no corroborated proof. Those closest to him, his family, friends, and political colleagues, firmly and consistently rejected this notion, stating he was in good spirits and making plans for the future. The most outlandish theories involve cloak and dagger espionage, tales of a secret rendezvous with a Chinese submarine or defection to the enemy captured the public imagination but have been thoroughly debunked. Decades of investigation have yielded zero credible evidence to support these spy fantasies. This is the crucial divide between myth and fact. The dramatic claims of conspiracy and foul play all arose after the event, feeding on the lack of a body. But every official inquiry, from the immediate police investigation to a 2005 coronial review, found no basis for them beyond pure speculation. The official findings consistently point to a tragic confluence of factors: hazardous ocean conditions, a swimmer's fatigue and physical injury, and the sudden, overwhelming power of a rip current as the probable cause of death. While the context of his high-stress job as Prime Minister is undeniable, the physical evidence and eyewitness testimony align squarely with a tragic surf accident, not a political conspiracy. Because no remains were ever found, absolute, 100% certainty is impossible. The ocean keeps its secrets. But what we do have is a powerful and consistent narrative supported by all available facts. A notoriously dangerous beach, a powerful rip current, and a man caught in the wrong place at the wrong moment. It remains a stormy mystery, a national trauma etched into the coastline. While officially accepted by investigators as a drowning, the disappearance of Harold Holt is a case that, for many, will forever remain unresolved. First, the official word. In 2005, the Victorian state coroner found Harold Holt died by accidental drowning at Cheviot Beach. No conspiracy, just hazardous surf, powerful rips, and cold, surging water. On that coast, such conditions can turn deadly within seconds. So why was no body recovered? Tearing currents, kelp, and reefs can trap and break up a swimmer. Debris is quickly dispersed and drawn seaward. Within hours, remains can be swept into Bass Strait. Today, memorials mark the loss. A plaque at Cheviot Beach, and the Harold Holt Swim Center named in his honor. The naming remembers the man, it is not meant in jest. His disappearance reshaped prime ministerial security, closer protection, and stricter protocols. It also sharpened coastal safety awareness nationwide, from clearer warning signs to better surf life-saving practice at risky beaches. Even so, the disappearance still grips Australia. With respect, we remember and keep learning from the sea.